Thank you, Speaker, for the great leadership, not only on the BQE but also on transportation overall. I don't have two little kids, but I have my 13 and 7, and I had to take my A train from Inglewood, so I'm sorry for being here late. But one thing that we also had to realize on any big project is that let's be sure that underserved communities are listened. New York City is not only the upper class and middle class. New York City is composed by more than 35 New Yorkers who live on poverty. The time of Robert Moses is something that we should learn from. When we meet at Union Square, we hear a lot of people saying, we lost opportunity also to have a lot of green area from 14th Street to 23rd Street. So I feel that as a BQE, definitely it's a matter of safety. When that area is working on 3 times over capacity, it's about the drivers, it's about the residents of the community. So to be here with Speaker Johnson and the rest of my colleagues and listening from the members of the community and the experts who say, let's look at all options. Let's be sure that we don't marry only with one. I think that this is a big project. And this is a project, again, that we cannot leave underserved community out of this conversation. This is the issue that we have in our city. We believe that when a group of, a top group of New Yorkers come out with a plan, they are the only voice. And even though sometimes we say that we have one New Yorkers for all, sometimes we fail in that part. So I'm here mostly highlighting the importance that the voice of underserved members of the area are listening loud and clear, that they also get engaged in this conversation before we finalize any plan on how we're going to be fixing the BQE. Yo estoy aquí acompañando al Speaker Corey Johnson con un mensaje bien claro. El BQE es un problema, algo de peligro que nosotros tenemos actualmente. Está actuando 3 veces por encima de la capacidad que tiene. Hay que reconstruirlo, pero también tenemos que aprender de Robert Moses, que aunque hizo muchas cosas, muchos proyectos, cuando lo hizo, desplazó a muchas personas trabajadoras. And when I talk about underserved, let's not just visualize a Latino. Let's not only visualize a black. Let's think about someone that came from the former Soviet Union. Let's think about someone who is Asian. So let's think about working class. They need to be part of this conversation. Nosotros queremos asegurarnos que las voces de las personas de color, latinos, afroamericanos, clase trabajadora, asiática, personas que vienen de lo que eran los países soviéticos, también sean escuchados. No podemos dejar de perder la oportunidad de convertir en áreas verdes, áreas para ciclistas, áreas para peatones. So I'm here to stand with the speaker, supporting this great initiative. What he did is the right thing to do, to get also all the experts to come on board. Let's listen to all the options, and let's be sure that when we make the decision, that plan, we make the best plan, and the voices of everyone, upper, middle, working class, black, Asian, Latino, especially those who live there, are listening loud and clear. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Thanks, Adonis. Thank you. And before I call up folks from the community, I want to acknowledge, I think Dan Wiley is here from Congresswoman Velasquez's office, and I want to thank him if he is here. We have from Assemblymember Joanne Simon's office, represented by her Chief of Staff, Susanna Pasquantonio, who I believe is potentially here. I think someone from State Senator Kavanaugh's office is here, and I think there are folks from Majority Leader Cumbo's office and Councilmember Lander's office, and I want to thank all the staff from all their offices for being here today and for being part of this conversation. And next I want to call up from A Better Way, representing the community, Hillary Jaeger.
Good morning. My name is Hillary Jaeger, and I'm a co-founder of the grassroots community group known as A Better Way. I want to start by thanking the Speaker and City Council, and the Speaker in particular, for his leadership on this critical issue. We've come a very long way in the last 18 months since the DOT announced their 2 ill-conceived plans that were immediately rejected by the people. And we wouldn't be here talking about a transformative plan and a real solution, and about rejecting the status quo without the Speaker and the support of our council members. So we're incredibly grateful that you took this project on, you devoted resources, and we have this report to work with. I also want to thank all of the community groups that have come together with A Better Way to form the Coalition for the BQE Transformation, or BQET. We are calling, and we have come together to call for a solution that transforms aging urban infrastructure to unite communities once divided by highways, and to improve the lives of all New Yorkers. It is critical that we not think about this project as something that's just a problem at the cantilever. This is a problem that goes much farther than the cantilever, and as you've heard from the speakers this morning, we need to refocus and reimagine that and talk about ways in which we can use this as an opportunity to improve the lives for people up and down the corridor and to truly make a transformational change. As the Arab report highlights, with the initial DOT's plans shelved and knowing that the cantilever is in critical condition, we really are at a crossroads of asking the question, what should we build and how should we reach that answer? The first thing we need to do is to pass legislation that creates a governance structure in which local, state, and federal representatives work together with community stakeholders in a collaborative manner. This project needs a home. It needs a team of people who are dedicated to it for the long haul. Secondly, we need a clear timeline to work with. We cannot keep patching the same problems and kicking the can down the road. Now is the time to act and to think big. Third, we really need to embrace the opportunity to reimagine the corridor beyond the cantilever. We in the coalition are fighting for this visionary plan that reverses the environmental, safety, and health hazards that are associated with urban expressways and are the legacy of Robert Moses. What's so fantastic about the Arab report is that it shows how we can turn this into an opportunity for New York City, something the community has been saying for the last several years, to join other progressive cities that have chosen to transform regions once plagued by traffic and pollution into flourishing urban landscapes that reunite communities and show the world that we are a progressive, great city. The report, as well as some of the other plans that we've talked about and that you'll hear about today that have been generated, really show that something transformational is possible. We are not trying to figure out how to live in Mars. We're not trying to figure out how to do something that no one has done before. This is something that has been done, that should be done, and that can be done. And that is part of what the report so well explains and lays out, and what I hope the public really takes time to delve into. So let's all agree to work together as best we can and build a New York for the tomorrows to come. Thank you so much.
And next, I want to call up from the Brooklyn Heights Association, Martha Dietz. Oh, okay. Sorry, I apologize.
That's fine, no problem.
I apologize, Laura.
Hi, so I'm Laura Bernbach with the Brooklyn Heights Association, and as Hillary just mentioned, the Coalition for the BQE Transformation. Thank you so much to everybody from the community who's here today. We're so grateful. I want to take a moment to say that it's incredibly thrilling to think about how far we've come since the New York City DOT introduced their so-called innovative plan for reconstructing the BQE cantilever in September of 2018. Where we were once talking about building a temporary highway that would have placed 6 lanes of traffic on the doorstep of homes and playgrounds, we're now talking about dramatically reducing vehicles and air pollution so our neighborhoods can breathe easier. Where we were once talking about a very narrow focus on a short, albeit decrepit, section of an outdated highway, we're now talking about a comprehensive and truly transformative plan for the entire BQE corridor. We know that it will take time to design and implement the truly transformative solution our city deserves. However, there are some immediate steps that we think can be taken now. As both the Mayor's panel and the City Council have recommended, we must immediately reduce the roadway from 6 to 4 lanes while implementing the kinds of travel demand policies that will enable this configuration. Furthermore, the city should continue its efforts to enforce the prohibition against overweight trucks on the BQE. And finally, we call for the passing in this legislative session of a structure creating governance made up of federal, state, and local partners working collaboratively and in partnership with the community to deliver this project to the City of New York. We are very grateful to Speaker Johnson and the City Council and all the other elected officials including the mayor's expert panel, who recognized the folly of defining this problem as a problem only from Atlantic to Sands, and who have worked conscientiously and respectfully with the community to redefine the problem and the potential solutions. We are grateful again, and we are so happy to see your support here today, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And from the Cobble Hill Association, their president, Amy Breedlove.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Amy Breedlove from the Cobble Hill Association. We are very grateful for the work that the speaker has done along with City Council and in conjunction with ARIP in writing the future of the BQE. And the name of that report really says everything. And it is about the future, not just the status quo right now. So the future is now, and the speaker has said that. The Coalition for the BQE Transformation is working every day to make this a reality. And I know the council knows this, as well as others in city government, that we are relentless in talking about a vision for the future. When the original project area by the DOT was announced, it was Sands to Atlantic. Cobble Hill was not a part of that original scope. It was clear to us that we needed to be a part of this, and that we have the deadliest on and off ramps in New York State, that we have playgrounds and parks divided by a highway, and that we have a trench that spews toxins into the air. It was clear that we needed to be a part of this and that it was a corridor issue. And my partners to the north who were dealing with the cantilever also understood that this needed to be a coalition fighting for the future of Brooklyn and the future of New York City. So as the report says, the time is now. We must not defer real change and continue to fund a never-ending cycle of patchwork repair. Buying another decade, which is what the DOT wants to do right now, in the hope that someone else will take on the systemic issues that have prevented permanent change in the past. Why can't this change happen in our lifetime? Now, more than ever, the community is aligned and fighting for a single cause, a transformative, sustainable solution that will permanently change the relationship of the expressway to our adjacent neighborhoods. We need our government, both city, state, and federal, to come together and solve for this now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think that's all we have for speakers today. So I'm happy to take on-topic questions first. Yes. I think it's something that we should have on the table. I think it's a lot of money, $11 billion. I think there are some real concerns that you're going to hear about today related to potential takings and eminent domain. The length of the project is longer than some of the other options that are on the table. So there are some downsides to it, and we should acknowledge that. But today, again, is not about me endorsing one plan or anyone here endorsing one plan over another plan. The first part of this is really about getting all the options out there so we can make an informed decision. Up to this point, not all of the options have been out there. So the point of the report that we have worked on over the last many months was saying not just to the folks who are here today who care so much about the future of the BQE, from Atlantic to Sands, or even past that, as Amy just said, along the entire corridor. It's about getting out what are the potential options. Some people are going to like some of those, some people are not going to like some of those. But I want everyone to know what those options are so we can have that conversation moving forward. And I think, I don't have an exact time frame, but pretty near in the future, there's going to have to be some consensus over what that option actually is. So today, hopefully we'll shed light over what the options are and bring a level of consensus moving forward about what it could be. One of the other options talked about, which you're going to hear about in just a few minutes when the hearing begins, is something that's already been out there, but this again goes into some of the good things and bad things of the Bjarke-Ingels plan, the capped highway plan. So we're going to look at all of that today. That's what today is about. Yes, go ahead.
You've been very clear about wanting to break the car culture. What do you say to critics of these proposals who think they don't go far enough on that edge and not far enough on the environmental?
You know, this is complicated stuff. And one of the complicating factors is that there are about 150,000 cars that use the BQ every single day, and 25,000 heavy vehicles, trucks. And so if you just tore the BQE down as is, without a mitigation plan for what would happen to all of that vehicular traffic that uses the BQE, I think it would be pretty difficult. Now, I do believe in induced demand, and I think that theory is a theory that we've seen work on 14th Street with the busway, so it's something that has proven itself. But in this instance, the trucks themselves would need to be redirected in some way, and they would likely be redirected onto the local side streets up and down the corridor, not just where the triple cantilever is. These are trucks that right now currently toll shop in New York City, and a lot of these trucks end up going to Long Island, using the Cross Bronx, going up to the GW. So if you tore the BQE down without having a mitigation plan on this, it would complicate things. So part of what today is about is talking about how you reduce the footprint of a future highway moving forward. How can you decrease the amount of lanes? How can you reclaim some of that space for pedestrians and for cyclists and for park lane and for mass transit users? How can you do all of those things? When you do those things, you are breaking the car culture. When you do those things, you are saying we are not going to live under the paradigm and rubric of Robert Moses in the past, but we're going to think out a way moving forward. Now, again, one of the complicating factors here is that it's falling down. So we need something. We need something in the short term to deal with this. I haven't seen, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I haven't seen any of the wonderful, great transportation advocacy groups or think tanks or policy groups that do this really smart work looking at our region in a very regular way. I haven't seen any of them put forward a plan that would tear down the BQE and that would find a way to deal with all those issues that I just talked about. If there is a plan out there that looks at that, I'm happy to consider that. I'm going to ask some of these questions today to Arup, who actually thought about this issue as well. I don't want to preempt their presentation today, so I'm not going to keep going into nitty-gritty detail on all of these things. I think it's important that we see the presentation from Arup to walk through each of the proposals so that they can talk about the pluses and the minuses and the things that they considered in this process. Clayton.
For the tunnel, you're looking at a cost estimate of up to $3.3 billion a mile. The VIG proposal is $3.2 billion a mile. Are those cost estimates satisfactory to you, or are you worried about getting fleeced?
No, I don't think they're satisfactory. And that's why I think that we need a public authority and a governance structure that could actually look at this in a holistic way. We have seen major cost overruns when it comes to the MTA. We've seen what has happened with East Side Access and how much that has gone over budget over the last decade plus. The cost of that project over budget would have paid for the entire resignaling of the entire subway system across New York City. So the answer is no, but part of the difficult place that we're in right now is that no one has fully owned this. No one has fully said we're going to wrap our arms around this and we're going to be sort of the keeper of this. As part of Gateway, they put together a public authority on the tunnel to look at how to manage the project because it is so crucial for the entire region up and down the East Coast. This project is also crucial for the future, not just of the neighborhoods up and down the BQE in the corridor, but it's crucial to the entire city, given how the BQE impacts the rest of the city, the cross river, the crossings over the East River. And so we need a governance structure that actually looks at all of that right now and can look at the cost. But right now, no. I mean, again, it's one of the things that all of us, and you have covered it, Clayton at the Daily News, and all of us have talked about how unacceptable it costs just to do the short distance of the 2nd Avenue subway and how much that costs per mile. We need to figure out a better way to bring down the overall capital costs to these large infrastructure projects. One of the ways you could potentially do that is if you had a federal partner that was willing to work with you in a reasonable way. We don't have that right now, and that's why we need this public authority or governance body to help us walk through all of these problems.
Can we go back to the environmental question for a second? So, as you know, we live in an age of global climate change.
Yes.
We live in an age of, we're in a city on a rising waterfront. There's pollution-induced asthma. There's 800,000 daily Uber and Lyft trips a day. The MTA can't fund its own modernization project. The list goes on and on and on. How do we know if you spend $3 to $11 billion enshrining another highway, a different type of highway, to fix the Robert Moses era? How do we know in 30 years we're not going to call this the Corey Johnson era of highway building?
Gersh, come on.
It's a legitimate question to find out why you won't consider the environmental issues posed by the car culture you want to break.
We are considering the environmental issues, and you're going to hear more about an environmental agenda in a few weeks when I give my State of the City, which will talk about these issues at a citywide level. But you know, this is not us appropriating the money. The money has already been appropriated by the City of New York for the tune of $4 billion to do two potential plans that are unacceptable and that no one thought were transformational or forward-thinking or looked at this in a way that could reclaim public space. These two plans are not my plans. I didn't sit down, I didn't conceive of them, I'm not a traffic engineer, I'm not that smart. I wish I was. The Arab sat down and looked at all the existing plans, and they looked at other potential things that could be looked at to modify each of those plans. So Arab actually didn't come up with its own plan. They said there was the state plan that was put forward over a decade ago, there was the Bjarke-Ingels plan, there was the comptroller's plan, there were the DOT plans, there were all these plans. We're going to look at the pluses, we're going to look at the minuses, we're going to modify some of these plans, we're going to talk about some of the problems associated with each one of them. And again, if there is a legitimate way to figure out all of the issues that we all care so deeply about and that I think I've shown my mettle on time and again when it comes to transportation, when it comes to the environment, when it comes to prioritizing mass transit, when it comes to making the city safer for pedestrians and cyclists, if there is a way to do this better, I'm all ears. I'm not wedded to something. I'm not saying I love any of these. I'm saying we don't want to get stuck in the box of DOT putting forward those two plans and not having all the pluses and minuses for each one of these plans on the table. I'm going to ask questions today to Arup about what would it look like to potentially tear the BQE down. Could that be done in a responsible way? I have not heard a responsible way to do that right now. If there is a way, and if the Regional Plan Association, if Transportation Alternatives, if other great groups that do this work every single day have ideas on that, I'm all ears. I'm not sure at this moment in time, given the 25,000 of heavy vehicles that use it every single day, given the fact that right now we are not getting federal approval on congestion pricing, given that for the transit deserts across New York City that were promised additional express bus service, rapid bus transit, increased subway capacity service for congestion pricing, we're not seeing that from the MTA right now. Given all of those variables, I don't see how you do what you are talking about in a responsible way. So if there is a responsible way, I'm all ears. This is about looking at the pluses and minuses of the project, giving all the information to the public, having an airing of that information, and then again, I haven't endorsed any plan. It's about getting the information out there and then hopefully bring consensus from people at the federal, state, and city level, the community, and getting everyone on board on a plan that they feel comfortable with that can be modified to make it the best plan possible. Yay! Anyone else? Yes. I think the mayor's expert panel actually put out some really good information that was really helpful, and I think they did a great job in the work that they did over the many months that they were working on this. And I'm grateful to Carla Shasura and for the folks on the panel that worked really, really hard. I think that there needs to be, again, a level of cooperation. And the start of this project is going to happen after this mayor leaves office. And so it means that the cooperation over the next 2 years is important, for the next 22 months is important, but it's really about us figuring out, to beat this drum that you've been hearing from everyone here today, figuring out a public authority, a governance structure that keeps this and holds this and guides this and vets this and manages this over the course of multiple administrations, potentially multiple state administrations, I hope multiple federal administrations, to figure out a way forward. So that is what the goal and plan is. And, we need to all be coordinating with each other. The start of this project is going to outlive this current city council, and I just want to make sure we're getting all the information out there, presenting the facts, and hopefully getting a system set up to vet this in the appropriate way and to create the consensus we need moving forward, to not be stuck in limbo, to not have everyone point fingers at each other, but to actually move forward in a responsible and appropriate way. Anyone else? Yes. Not to my knowledge. I do know that I haven't had conversations with him, but I believe, I don't want to speak for them, I believe there have been conversations between the state legislators' offices and the second floor, the governor's office up in Albany. I don't know if those were direct conversations with the governor or if they were staff-to-staff conversations, but I know there have been conversations because, again, the state DOT looked at this issue 10 years ago, and to get this project done, the city can't do this project on its own. It actually is going to be required to be coordination and cooperation from the feds, because this is a highway, from the state, and from the city. All three are going to need to come together on a project of this size, scale, and cost. Anyone else? Thank you very much.